What's the ultimate investment? Inexpensive to acquire, massive leverage requiring no debt, practically zero legal liability, and potentially staggering returns on investment? Take your best guess. I'm Brian Ellis. I'll give you the real answer right now in episode 110.
You're listening to Self-Directed Investor Radio, America's only podcast exclusively for affluent, self-directed investors, where each day of the week you receive innovative investment strategy and deadly accurate market analysis that's untainted by Wall Street and unblemished by government propaganda, all in 7 minutes or less. Coming to you now from iTunes, Stitcher, and SDIRadio.com, here's your host, Brian Ellis.
Ah, yes, my capitalist friends, I can practically hear the panting of some of you who crave, as I do, staggering returns at low cost and practically zero risk. Yes, it's the ultimate investment class. Ready? Don't be silly. Of course it's not stocks doing an IPO. That's Bush League. It's not even one of my favorite asset classes, namely real estate secured mortgages and notes. What you're about to learn of is even better than that. Here it is. Intellectual property licensing. Oh yes, it's the ultimate leverage. Now before you tune out, let me tell you something. This is a great option for anyone. You don't need to be an inventor or own a bunch of patents or copyrights or anything like that. It's far easier than that. Plus, for you self-directed retirement investors, this integrates very well with self-directed IRAs and even better with self-directed 401ks. Folks, listen to every word today because no matter who you are or what your background, today's show will be enlightening and frankly, I expect very inspiring. Let's start from ground zero. What is intellectual property? For our purposes, intellectual property is anything created by your mind to which legal protection can be applied. For example, your company's logo is intellectual property. The secret formula for Coca-Cola is intellectual property. A customer list is intellectual property. Unique product ideas are or can be intellectual property. A great way to think about it is this. If you can come up with an idea or some information, allow others to use it, and receive compensation for their use of the idea or information, it's probably a good example of intellectual property. The mechanism through which such compensation is received is usually called a license, which is just a document that gives a party the legal authority to use something that's not theirs. An example is an order. Imagine you own a real estate brokerage. A huge part of your job is to identify people who are interested in buying or selling real estate. Another part of your job is actually converting those people into actual customers. That's how you make money, is through commissions on property transactions. But did you know that you're generating data that's highly valuable to other parties and for which you could easily generate solid licensing revenue without creating competition for yourself? Think of all of the related kinds of products and services which are so commonly associated with the purchase and sale of real estate. There's title services, pest inspections, moving services, property warranties, renovations, insurance, utilities, etc. Then there's all of the services a person will need to establish after they've moved into a property. Everything from hairstyling to medical services to grocery stores to churches and civic groups. The point is, the information you're generating, both the people who inquired about your services and the people who actually used your services, can be highly valuable to many other companies. Companies who, by the way, are entirely compatible with your services but not at all competitive. So what do? Licensing. You could easily package up the data you're generating once a month or once a quarter and license the use of that data to others who could benefit from it substantially. And folks, the value of that data really can be substantial, particularly for leads sold to financial companies. It's not uncommon for a single lead to be valued at hundreds of dollars or more. But here's the thing. You don't have to do anything for the company that licenses your intellectual property. That's their job. All you do is provide the data and collect the payment, nothing else. In fact, there are many companies who are basically in the business of doing nothing more than generating lists of prospects and selling that data to compatible businesses. And it's a big business. In fact, there was a time when about 85% of the income of the Brian Ellis Investing Letter, my newsletter for real estate investors, came from data licensing. So this is an area which I have some substantial personal experience. Additionally, there's substantial legal protection involved when you're a licensor. I'm not a lawyer, so don't quote me on this, but generally speaking, if someone licenses your intellectual property and ends up in a lawsuit, the problem's theirs, not yours. Folks, this is highly relevant for you no matter what your background is for two reasons. First, there's a huge amount of very easy income to be had this way. Companies are licensing product ideas from outside their own walls like never before as a result of a broadly adopted initiative called open innovation, which is a recognition of the fact that creating a great idea and bringing that idea to market are two entirely different issues and that most companies are good at bringing to market and less good at ideation. And it's not just product ideas. This is a data-driven world. More than ever before, companies of all sizes are giving up on advertising and marketing themselves and instead just outsourcing that function by licensing data produced by others that's likely to lead to new customers. Both of these, new product or service ideas and the licensing of proprietary data, are hugely financially potent and also highly accessible to anyone, as the barriers to entry are incredibly low. The second reason this is so highly relevant is because it's extremely timely right now. Just yesterday, the newspaper Financial Times published a piece about what's called the gig economy, the broad move by employers away from hiring permanent employees and towards recasting their former employees as contractors, vendors, and temporary workers. This major cultural shift is in perfect alignment with the opportunity to generate income via licensing, as employers are trying to diminish their permanent commitments. Licensing plays beautifully into this shift, as licenses almost invariably provide licensors with the flexibility to use the license as much or as little as needed, thus shielding the licensor from risky commitments. Now, I can hear what many of you are thinking right now. I'm not an inventor, or I don't have the ability to create data desired by others. While I respectfully suggest that those notions are hogwash, I also respectfully suggest that those things are entirely unnecessary. You see, there's great opportunity to acquire interest in valuable intellectual property simply by helping other people who are inventors or who are producers of the right kind of data to get connected with the people and companies who need them. And it's entirely possible to structure these arrangements in such a way that the income you generate is every bit as simple and passive as if you'd done all the work yourself. My friends, imagine a steady, substantial stream of cash dropping into your bank account or IRA or 401k every single month. You do nothing for it, it just happens. Sure, there's a little effort on the front end, but shockingly little. Now, we're about out of time right now, but for those of you who are members of the SDI 5-Star Listeners Group, I've got something very, very special for you. Next week, I'm offering a webinar training which I'll record and place in the 5-Star Vault. This webinar will teach some powerful concepts surrounding licensing and will feature an interview with one of the leading experts on this topic, Mr. Stephen Key, author of the excellent book, One Simple Idea. The webinar will teach you more about intellectual property and what goes along with it. You'll find it's far easier and far more accessible than you ever imagined. But what's more, I'll teach you a business structure for this type of business whereby, if you like, all of your licensing profits can be 100% tax-free forever. You heard it right. Large passive income and virtually zero legal liability and absolutely zero taxes. Business doesn't get better than that. And that's all free for those of you who are members of the SDI 5-Star Listeners Group. If you're not a member of that group, the time is now, while I'm still offering it as a complimentary benefit to all of you. To get your free membership now, just text the word SDI Group to 33444. That's spelled SDI-GROUP with no spaces or periods. Text the word SDI Group to 33444 to get access to that information and a whole lot more. My friends, invest wisely today and live well forever.
Thank you for listening to Self-Directed Investor Radio with Brian Ellis. Don't miss a single episode. Be sure to subscribe to Self-Directed Investor Radio right now on iTunes, on Stitcher, and at SDIRadio.com. Your feedback is always welcomed via email at feedback@SDIRadio.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only and is not intended as legal or professional advice for your situation. Content is the property of the Self-Directed Investor Society.